Hi everyone, welcome to my messy lounge today. Yes, you want to break a leg falling over boxes, need a nice bruise on your butt or toe in a splint? Well, my home would be the place to be. We have just run out of boxes, so we will have to go get more. But for now, I'm sitting down with my third cup of coffee so that I can talk to you. Yes, for those of you who may remember, I stopped drinking coffee. But since I stopped smoking a year ago, I started drinking coffee again, and lots of it lately. Oh well, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the royals. William visited the Red Cross to hear about their work and the needs of so many as a result of the war between Israel and Gaza. As a result, I saw a couple of heated debates flaring up all over the place. Some are obviously saying William needs to stay out of politics, and others are saying it is a humanitarian issue. So let us look at it and decide for ourselves. Now, I agree and firmly believe royals should stay out of politics and be as neutral as can be. Remember, during the time of Queen Elizabeth II, it was said that she realized full well that she was queen over all her subjects. White, black, straight, gay, thin, fat, tall, short, male or female, even of those in prison and asylums, etc. Unfortunately, as monarch, you cannot pick and choose. You can't walk up to a guy and say, "Hey, I don't like your face or your religion, so I'm not your king." No. You have to reign over the good and the bad, and that is why the monarch has to be neutral. But where do you draw the line between what is political and what is a humanitarian issue? Now, I listened to every clip I could find of William's visit to the Red Cross, and although he referred to the initial attack by Hamas, he remained very neutral throughout, with as much empathy for the civilians in Gaza, mothers, children, and the elderly, as for the Jewish casualties and hostages. And in my opinion, that is how it should be. No mother, grandmother, or grandfather wake up one morning hoping and praying for war which will deprive them of their sons and daughters. Well, I certainly don't know of any. It truly does not matter which side you are on. The hurt and suffering is heartbreaking. One only needs to watch one video of a father pulling his child out of the rubble of a building that had been bombed to absolutely hate war. Any war. William is also asking for a ceasefire or any other solution to get medical aid, food and water to civilians caught up in this nonsense. And who can blame him for this? A child is a child, and you have to be pretty hard if you are prepared to help, let's say, a Jewish 3-year-old, but not a Palestinian 3-year-old. I've heard so many stories of soldiers searching a premises, and then one comes across a child or children hiding, and then the soldier tells them to be quiet and basically covers them until they're all done and leave. And who can blame such a man? I certainly wouldn't. I read William's statement, which was put out after his visit to the Red Cross. Now, I personally do not see or read anything political in it, but I'll read it to you and then you can decide for yourself. It reads, I remain deeply concerned about the terrible human cost of the conflict in the Middle East since the Hamas terrorist attack on October the 7th. I, like so many others, want to see an end to the fighting as soon as possible. There is a desperate need for increased humanitarian support to Gaza. It's critical that aid gets in and the hostages are released. Sometimes it is only when faced with the sheer scale of human suffering that the importance of permanent peace is brought home. Even in the darkest hour, we must not succumb to the counsel of despair. I continue to cling to the hope that a brighter future can be found, and I refuse to give up on that. Now, I also believe that both the King and the Prime Minister approved of this statement. William, unlike his father, is practical and hands-on. Unlike his father, who built an architectural dream or vision in Poundland, William is building social housing in Cornwall, where the homelessness has risen sharply over the last few years. William wants to give back in a practical, maybe less flamboyant way. Now, saying that on another platform, I was told to put a sock in it, but I can't see why. It just is what it is. It is the difference between the two men. Charles is the letter writer. My wife and I are terribly saddened to hear blah 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 is the introduction to many of Charles's letters. William, however, packs a backpack, collects his bodyguard, and goes and sleeps under a bridge with the homeless. Or he goes and sells a big issue on the street. Maybe it is because of William's years working as part of the air ambulance and medical evacuations which made him different from his father. The two men had very different life experiences. Maybe it is also Diana's blood, at least her good side, which is so prevalent in William. William also had the influence of the Queen and Prince Philip without the interference of, for instance, the Queen Mother, whom I think had a big role to play in Charles's fussiness. In my opinion, though, if the monarchy is to survive, it is indeed time to narrow that divide between them and the public a little. Also important, though, will be increased transparency. The royal family had been far too secretive about too much, hiding potentially very sensitive, very hurtful things and information, covering things up for themselves, their family and their friends. And in a way, I am glad William is more of a hothead and more impulsive than his father, as those particular traits will make it more likely that he will be more open and transparent. Something, however, that Charles and William have in common is their tempers. Both have terrible tempers, but according to a few people I had interactions with, their tempers manifest very, very differently. Charles throws tantrums. He throws things, kicks furniture, and will rant and rave in one spot for 15-20 minutes, during which he will also yell at whoever is in his orbit. William's temper has him turn red in the face, and he is more likely to storm off. People who had seen him very, very angry said he was blood red in the face and his eyes were watery like he was about to cry, and that he stormed right past them without acknowledging anybody. I also think William looked pale and rather sad during the BAFTAs, and although he had a little more colour in his face during the Red Cross meeting, he still looked a little worn. You know, my dad taught me this very early in life when he said, "They shit just like you." And yes, it may be a very crude way of saying they are just human, but it is the fact. They are human and they bleed just like us. And just as much as we need to remember that, they also need to remember that. All those palaces can be gone tomorrow, and what then? Only those, like William, who have not lost their humanity will then survive. And that, my dear friends, is indeed a fact. Okay, guys, I'll do what I can, and hopefully, as promised, I'll do a longer video tomorrow. So until then, please take good care of yourselves and each other. Bye.